baptized at age 11. No one was more excited than my mother. Like most Filipinas, she's extremely religious. In her eyes, baptism would endow me with new grace, with new virtue, with new moral integrity. As long as I followed the rules. My religion has loads of rules about baptism, but my favorite one is this. Above anything else, make sure you do not drink the holy water. So when they finally submerged me in the baptismal pool, I thought I would feel at peace. Instead, I felt like drowning. My hands shook, my eyes fluttered open, and without my control, I gulped down some holy water. It tasted horrible, by the way. I knew that I had broken a religious rule, and I knew that my mother could never find out. Why? Because in a way, I have been drowning her from the moment I was born. I am her biggest broken rule. Back in the late 90s, my mother's family was renowned for their moral integrity. They weren't rich, but their honor and virtue was unmatched. You can imagine their shock then, when they found out that my mother was pregnant, out of wedlock, and the father was a married man. My mom, the most religious person I know, faced expulsion from the church that she so loved. And now, as any one of you would do, she turned to her friends for comfort and reassurance. No. Puta, they called her. Querida, they called her. These were girls who had played with her on the street as children, and now they looked at her as if she was trash, a wretch with no integrity, all because she had broken one rule. My mother was drowning in the sea of her own mistakes. No one was there to save her. This is the same story shared by more than 200,000 Filipino women every single year. And it's the same for countless of women in different religions around the world as well. Unwed mothers, teenage mothers, all these women cast out, condemned, drowned by the way society views their integrity. But I didn't know that. As a kid, all I knew was that if I hadn't been born, my mother would still have had her friends. If it weren't for me, she would still have her community, her family, her happiness. Instead, she got me. A rule broken over and over again. And I was just getting warmed up. You see, a few weeks after my baptism, I discovered something strange. I am sexually attracted to men. And at that point, I sank to my knees and I asked the Lord Almighty, my God, is this because I drank the holy water? Is that it? He did not reply. But when I did tell my mother about it, she started crying. I mean, of course she would. She'd spent all these years trying to redeem herself in the eyes of the church. And now here I come, her broken rule, come to drown her once again. Or so I thought. She told me that she was crying not because she didn't accept me. She was crying because she was scared that people would judge me in the same way they had once judged her. All this time, it didn't matter to her how other people viewed her integrity. What mattered was that I could grow up without drowning in the same sea of prejudice that she had suffered in all those years ago. My mother could have very easily given me up. Instead, she chose to see me not as her broken rule, but as her one redemption. Religion plays a huge role in my culture and in different countries around the world as well. I do think that's a good thing. It gives us direction, it gives us purpose. But sometimes when taken to the extreme, our beliefs can box people out. Now, statistically speaking, in this room, around 10 of us are atheists, 30 of us will be smokers, and at least one person will be gay. Hint, it's me. But nobody in this room deserves to be treated with any less respect than the others because of that. Too often, society demonizes people like unwed mothers, atheists, people who don't live by our religious and social rules. But integrity is not about obeying rules. Integrity is about understanding the fact that while we do make mistakes, we're always capable of rising above them. My mom broke a rule, but she never let it define her. She chose to let her love for me define her. And that's given her an integrity that no rule can take away. My mom and I still struggle with our faith a lot. And sometimes it feels as though we're still drowning. And I know that there are thousands of people, millions, who feel the same way around the world. But that's okay, because no matter how deep you drown, as long as you believe in your own integrity, you'll always be able to rise to the surface and breathe. Thank you.
Thank you, Marco, for your speech. Questions from the floor?
Hi, Mark. Irfan from Malaysia.
I know.
I come from a country where I'd be considered an ethnic minority as well, and I've experienced ostracization from my own church, or in this case, the mosque. So in situations where the minority has to get their own rights and what they deserve, usually we'll have to retaliate against others who are typically stronger or powerful. But then when we do, then we are labeled as extremists or people using power, misusing power. So in these circumstances, how can we get those rights without our integrity being affected or compromised?
That's true. And it's the same story whether you're a feminist or whether you're LGBT or an ethnic minority. But the thing is, the way you best start, the way you best win a war, of what you're saying, the best way you win your rights, is to start from yourself. Because every way in which people, like, the reason why people are judged or condemned, sometimes it's not because of the structures or the religious rules, it's the way people interpret them. It's in people's minds. And according to scientific studies, the best and most effective way for you to change people's minds when it comes to bigotry or homophobia or discrimination is for those people to actually come into contact with you. Like, for them to actually know what a gay person is like, or what an ethnic minority is like, or what a feminist is like. And you don't have to retaliate or win a war or wage war for you to start changing those people's minds. Because it's not going to be huge at first. But if you can start by showing people your story, the way I'm sharing my story now, and start changing minds that way, you don't lose your integrity, you strengthen it. And you get other people to respond to you and engage with you in the most effective way possible. Thank you.
Just a note, there are some people who are struggling to hear the questions that are being asked from the floor. So please do make use of the microphones that we have available. Yes, sir. The glasses. Yes. No, good.
Hi, I'm from South Korea. So my question to you is that in your speech you talked about how you should keep on pursuing your own integrity, right? So in that sense, if everyone has their different ideas, their definition of integrity, and for example, some extremists believe that what their action is right, but in that sense, do you think that it's right for them, those extremists, to pursue their own integrity? Do you think that's right?
That's an extremely good question. And it's a question that's plagued the minds of different experts in religion and in culture around the world. We all have things we believe in, but at the same time, some of those beliefs can hurt other people. But the thing is, what I believe is that our beliefs and our goals run as far as they don't hurt other people. Because if you believe in something and that something is making other people worse, then you might be fulfilling your integrity as a person, but at the same time, you're bringing down someone else's life. And that is robbing you of your integrity as well. But this poses an interesting question, because now what do you do about that in that situation? And the thing is, I believe, and it's not always easy, is that you don't always have to break the rules of your religion or interpret them in a completely different way or change the dogmas of your religion or your culture. But what you can do is take those religious structures and take those dogmas and live it in a way that is compassionate and caring. For example, exactly what you talked about. You have people like, you have the Muslim religion, and you do have people who take that and live it in a way that is extremely destructive of other people's humanity. But the same way, you have people like my friend from Malaysia over here who told me how halal was actually based on something that's extremely compassionate. So it's exactly the same dogma, the same religion, the same rules, but these people chose to live it in a way that not just validates their own integrity, but also the humanity of other people. Because your personal integrity is nothing if it doesn't also consider the humanity of the people around you.
One last question. Yes.
Hello. Hi. I'm from Morocco. Thank you for your amazing speech. I have a question. Integrity is sometimes defined as having a moral compass that does not waver, living up to your moral uprightness and moral principles. So do you think that, let's not say your mother, because obviously it would be against what I'm saying, but if it was someone other than your mother who broke the rule which she broke, would you consider them as not being a person of integrity because they broke that rule? Would you consider them as a person who does not live up to moral principles and moral uprightness? Thank you.
Thank you, that's a great question. Now, here's the thing about integrity, because if you look at that definition, a moral compass that never wavers, you never do anything wrong, none of us would have integrity, because we all screw up sometimes, let's admit it. But here's the way I see integrity. We've always looked at integrity as morality. It's like a baptismal pool. You go in it and it gets dirtier and dirtier and you rise cleansed from it. And it's static. And that's what a lot of people and a lot of religions think morality is. But I don't believe it's that way. Morality changes simply because we as people change as well. And that's the point of integrity. The point is that you're able to redeem yourself. And I would agree that integrity involves a degree of not wavering. But here what I would say is that for you to have integrity, what should not waver is not your actions, because as humans, our actions will always waver. But what should never waver is your hope and your belief that no matter what you do, you can go back to your moral principles and you can live a good life. That shouldn't waver, because no matter what crime you do or how human you are, if you can have the hope, and that hope is what never wavers, you base your morality on that unwavering belief in your own capacity to redeem yourself, then I believe that you truly have integrity. Thank you.